What's up, Zach here, and today I've got the Diadem Court Flo. Oh, that was interesting. I'm sure that looks cool on camera. These are some new pickleball slash tennis slash really outdoor basketball models that have come out from Diadem. They do have the Court Burst, which I reviewed, I believe, end of last year, beginning of 2025, something around there. And they say the Court Flo is going to revolutionize things. That's what every company says. Thanks to Diadem for sending me a pair of these to check out. However, this video is by no means sponsored. All opinions on these, good, bad, and indifferent, as always, are all my own. In terms of these, honestly, I have had these for a while. And I wasn't even going to review them. I just didn't have, time. I get a lot of shoes, I get a lot of videos, and I do a lot of things over 2 channels. I had a patient come in who had been in Diadem and really just said that they kind of took all of her pain away from a lot of different issues she was having, even in other shoes that I thought were actually pretty good. And so I had these here. I said, let me give these another look. So let's take a look at them. Insole on these things, it's premium. It's an Orthotics. That's nice. It's got some breathing channels, but otherwise it's just standard insole. It's got a little bit of an arch there, but nothing crazy. And getting into the tongue, as you can see, this padding just kind of comes out. It is really kind of flimsy padding. There is a little bit more in the more proximal tongue, obviously. So thing is, I didn't really have any lace irritation on these, and these laces are actually a little bit more tubular. So yeah, but didn't have any irritation. It's just a standard lace line, right? It's just a reinforced lace line. Looks like just like nylon or something up here, some backing. There is no runners knot in these things. That's one thing I don't like. Heel slippage on these. Yeah, it's mild. I think when you break them in, it's probably a little bit better. The shoe just runs a little bit more snug, so we'll talk about that later. So I think that's what keeps you in there, but nothing like really all that special in the uppers. They're kind of more just textile. If you look at the breathability test though, fog's getting out of them pretty easily. And in the uppers, it looks like it shouldn't breathe all that well, but the layers all do have pretty decent breathing channels. You can see on the microscope too. The pores are big enough. You do have a drag guard. It's not the biggest drag guard in the world on the medial side, but it is there. The rubber does come up a little bit here on the uppers, so it's not terrible. Nothing super premium in the uppers, but also nothing to cause any issues either. All right, getting into the midsole teardown, maybe this will give us a little bit of a clue as to why my patient wanted me to try these so much. It's simple. It's top-loaded shank here. I know it's really hard to see because of the same color foam, but there is a top-loaded shank here, and it does span the entire midfoot. It is nice and long. And then it is just what Diadem calls their Court Flo foam. I'm surprised Steph hasn't had something to say about that. But it is just one single slab of foam. I couldn't find a reliable source of exactly what it was. It does feel and look like EVA. Tongue is not gusseted though, by the way, just FYI. Look at this thing on the bounce height test. Got 32 centimeters in the rear foot, 31 in the forefoot. Interesting enough, in the forefoot, the sound it made was just smack. Like it was, usually you get like a nice thud. It just sounded like a smack in the forefoot. The drop on these is just, it's run-of-the-mill. The midsole's kind of run-of-the-mill. It's nice. It has a long top-loaded shank. But aside from the slab of foam, and the shank, if you look at the kind of shape and shank together on the tensiometer, it does take 67 newtons to get these things to 45 degrees. And it's slightly it's kind of difficult to bend. They bend at the appropriate place, which is great. And they have a nice little snapback, but they're not the easiest thing. And then torsional stability, that's kind of right in the sweet spot. So in terms of that, you are getting, a decent amount of shock absorption from the, the EVA. It is dense and it doesn't hurt. It's not brick-like at all. It is comfortable. So I think kind of like the Court Burst, at least in the midsole, we'll get into the outsole, we'll get into the fit, but at least in the midsole, it seems more like these pretty basic, but also kind of like a do no harm situation. There's less to go wrong on them, put it that way. All right, but getting into the outsole tread, and people ask me on tennis and pickleball models why I don't do the grip test ramp anymore. It's because literally every single one of them gets the exact same slip on them. I think all these companies are using the exact same rubber. When people start using different ones, I'll let you know. I do it just to make sure, and everything slips within a degree of each other, you know, a degree and a half. So I just, yeah, they're kind of all the same. Most rubbers now are good for sliding. They're good for grip and go. And really these are no different. These do have some micro traction on them, which is really good. They have that micro gridding, and it is basically just a really big flat herringbone going through the whole shoe. You do get some broken up, a little bit more, you know, narrow herringbone in the middle of the shoe, just kind of break up the pattern, which is fine. Same thing along the arch. Like I said, nothing really too crazy. Look at this thing on the outsole durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. Yeah, I mean, basically the burr just cleans off the tread. I mean, the durometer is high enough. So in terms of durability, I don't think these are going anywhere anytime soon. I think these are fine. I think the uppers are where you're gonna have the biggest issue, right, in terms of the durability. But in terms of the outsole, yeah, I mean, it's same thing, kind of basic, not much to go wrong. Micro traction, micro gridding, that's good. But other than that, just pretty, you know, above average. All right, but getting into the fit of the Court Flo, this one's interesting. They come in at 28.7 centimeters in length. So just, I mean, a very hair short. But then in terms of the inflare, they do have a 10-degree inflare, which is not crazy. I mean, it's you know, it's kind of middle of the road once again. And then, you know, they have 9.8 centimeters of metatarsal width, so not terrible. And toe box width of 10 centimeters, toe box taper of 35 degrees. So once again, these are just pretty middle of the road in terms of fit. Narrow medium foot and go true to size. A 2E, I think you can break them in true to size, but I wouldn't have a problem. I'd say if 2E, I would go up 1/2 size in these things, just a little bit, you know, more room. You can fit orthotics in these things, which is nice. And in the uppers, I will say they do break in. I think some people with bunions are gonna have problems with the backing up here, that backing on the top. So that might be an issue for you, but I think 4E goes up 1/2 size as well. Like I said, pretty much just true. And in terms of, you know, snake bitten foot, people have been recommending these for, it's funny. I think in terms of ankle sprainers, they do really well. They don't have, it doesn't look like a huge lateral flange here, right? I mean, it looks pretty basic, but in real life, like in person, it is very long. And so it actually is hard to roll these. So these are really good shoes for ankle sprainers. And typically I don't love when the foam comes all the way up around here because, I mean, it's fine, but sometimes I think companies use it to look like there's more underneath. In this case though, because it is kind of like dual density here and it is pretty stiff, that carrier on the outside, actually does create, especially because the shoe is not wide in of itself. I mean, it's just, you know, it's, you know, medium, right? Maybe a little higher than medium, but because it's flat tread profile and it doesn't taper in the midfoot as hard, it just has a nice midfoot profile for ankle sprainers, put it that way. In terms of heel pain, ball of foot pain, I think with an orthotic, it's fine. These wouldn't be my first choice for somebody with like neuroma type symptoms, but somebody with like big toe arthritis, I think would be good because they don't bend as hard. They're still flat tread, you know, it's dense. You're not gonna feel the cord as much. And I think with orthotics, they're gonna fit pretty well. And because this material, even though it might look a little bit cheaper, it does break in really well. So here's what I think is going on. I think my patient found something that fit their foot very well. And this is a perfect example of there is no best shoe. There is just a best shoe for you. Because like I said, there's nothing inherently wrong with these. There's nothing inherently mind-blowing either. I mean, I've had people saying the Jordan 39 is the best shoe ever made, right? I mean, and I couldn't disagree more. So it's, like I said, all this stuff is personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with these. If you like them, if you like Diadem, you're gonna like these more than likely. And I think the uppers in these ones aren't as like flowy as the Court Burst. So there's that, but they are a little more structured than the Court Burst too, right? You get a little bit more like oomph on their foot. I think they're very stable shoes for sure. And I think they have a nice footprint on the ground, especially like pickleball. I actually think these are a better pickup than the Court Burst for pickleball, just because like I said, they're a little bit more stable for that kind of 360-degree movement. For tennis, I think it's kind of dealer's choice. For outdoor basketball, like I said, between the two of them, you're gonna get a Diadem shoe, it's dealer's choice. So let me hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're even considering going with something like Diadem, if you're going with tried and true other brands, let me know in the comments down below. And if you do want to see what Head is up to with their brand new BOA shoes, and you know I love BOA, and these ones are definitely a step up from kind of like their typical lineup. So you want to check that out right here. Make sure you subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.